All right, are we live, Jennifer? Love it. Hey everyone, Dave Cooper Live, and guess what? We are on location at SIGA's National Training Center in Salem, New Hampshire. And who am I standing with other than the best trainer ever? Ken Keeper. How you doing, buddy?
Not too bad. How are you?
You know what? I'm wore out with knowledge.
Yeah, Dave just went through a little training seminar of ours here at our training center. So
Yeah.
I overloaded his brain with some tape knowledge and tape skills.
Tape knowledge, house wrap knowledge. And that stuff is sticky, my goodness.
Yeah.
It doesn't come off real easy.
You can only clap once now.
Yeah. If you saw my back, you'd see whip marks from him. You know? Oh, that's not how to do it. But listen, this has been phenomenal, right? So we started at 9 o'clock this morning, and here we are, what is it, 1 o'clock, a little after 1 o'clock. Yeah. And we went through the entire process of how to put on SIGA tape, SIGA wrap on the exterior of the home, but not just airtightness on the exterior. We focused on the interior as well.
Yeah.
So, which I think is great. So give us a little bit about your background, Ben.
So I have been working in the construction industry since I was 16. Started out, helping my dad build his little projects here and there. And then once I got into old enough to get into kind of the building materials trades and stuff like that, I started working in flooring and then progressing in kitchen design. And then I got into the outdoor world, the exterior of the building, the facades, working for a different facade company, the windows, architectural business development for a national window company. And then I landed here at SIGA, and I've been just absolutely thrilled here, and just everything that we do and what we stand for just has been amazing. It
really has. I mean,
love what we're doing.
And it's great. We had a great class today. We went through everything. You started off the presentation with some knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? Why do we do this?
Right.
What is the importance of doing it? And you were really driving that home before we went to the practical, let's put it on. Because I think you have to understand those things. Why don't you, if you don't mind, walk us through just a couple of the things that we did today that are really important?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we talked about today, so this training center is all about educating people on why we're doing different things in the building practices. Building isn't the same as it used to be 15, 20, 50, 100 years ago. We're evolving. We're understanding buildings different. We're understanding how everything works differently. And if we just say, hey, go do it, there's no understanding of why.
Right.
So we really try and teach people why. Airtightness and moisture management. How? Why? Why is it important? How do we do it? Why is it important? This is a big number here. So this 50%, what does that represent? Well, that represents, look at here. This is our built environment in just one city. Heating and cooling the interior of these buildings represents 50% of the world's energy usage. Think of this. We spend 90% of our time indoors.
Right.
We're working, we're back home, we're cooking, taking care of the family and things like that. We spend a lot of time indoors, so we want the indoor environment to be very comfortable for us. And if you think about this is one picture of one city from around the world. We're occupying, we've developed a large portion of the world. So we use a lot of energy to do this. And how do we, as SIGA, really want to help reduce that number and really make what our goal is? Our goal is reducing that number. So, SIGA is one of the best manufacturers in the world as far as everything we do in-house. So our own product development and research on everything, our own manufacturing facilities, our machines are engineered by our own staff. So we have utmost quality control over what we're doing. And then one of the most important parts here, that's the education. This education part, so we go out in the field, we're educating in the field, educating in facilities like this. We have this one here, we have one in Roosevelt, Switzerland, which is where our factory and headquarters is. We have another one in Oslo, Norway. So we're really branching out and making sure that we can really educate people on the best practices, on understanding why we're doing it, how these materials interact with each other.
So just so everybody understands, you not only come up with the solutions to the problem and do the science behind it, you manufacture it and you educate on it, right? And I think that's very, very important because you're not outsourcing a lot of this stuff.
Right. Yeah, and it's very important. We as a manufacturer, there's no better person to get the information from as to how everything works together than the people who manufacture it and the people who design and research and develop and all of this stuff that goes along with it. So being able to control everything from the production all the way through educating the end user is awesome.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, so we have this. Where do we go from here now, right?
So where do we go from here? Well, now that we've done it, we need to understand why we're installing this. So
Yeah.
the number one reason why we want to do better with our indoor environment is occupant comfort. You know, I lived in an old townhouse in Bedford, Massachusetts, that when you went into the kitchen, it was so poorly air sealed and so poorly insulated. When you went into the kitchen, you could feel cold air whipping across your feet, and so you didn't go into the kitchen unless you had slippers on. And oh, by the way, my kitchen sink used to freeze in the cabinet, like the water line.
Oh, really? In the cabinet itself?
It was that bad. So if we take a look at this, air leakage is all over the place. You know, we go up here, air likes to escape out the top of the house. I got a neutral pressure plane here. These arrows should be pointing inside because it creates kind of this negative vacuum and sucks air in the bottom. Right. So there's all kinds of places for air exfiltration and infiltration in the building. And, you know, we really want to mitigate those because that is a big portion of your occupant comfort.
Right, absolutely. So, I mean, what's interesting about all of this, and part of what we went through, and I think for everybody to understand, we talked about how to properly air seal all of this.
Right.
All the way down to include to the foundation and the concrete to stop all these aeroflows, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about here. Let's get into that and let's get into the importance of it.
Right. And so one of the first things that we want to do is we want to be able to plan this properly. So there are a lot of interactions between different substrates in the building, different, you know, projections off of the building. You know, we got decks, we've got roof connections, we've got foundation connections, we've got floor-to-floor joists, and how do we do this all? One of the best things that I like to see is these kind of 3D isometric renderings, because from a builder's perspective, this is great because you can look at this and really say, all right, this is what the intention was, this is what I did. You can compare what you've done to what was designed.
Yeah, sure.
Versus like a 2D cross-section. 2D cross-section, okay, but they don't really give you this holistic experience. From a design perspective, it really gives the architect an opportunity to kind of pick apart whether or not what they've designed is actually constructible.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's something that happens a lot, right? You get into the building and you're like, I really can't get these two pieces together. You know, it's really hard and you gotta kind of redesign that. So if you're able to get that in a 3D kind of rendering, that really helps with the planning process and really helps with the end result. You know, we make it easier to understand, the goals are easier to achieve, and the end result is a better product.
Absolutely. And the 3D rendering, the BIM models, I mean, that's becoming more and more reality for builders in the industry. So to really take a look at this and really focus on making a tight envelope and being able to, like you said, get down to the little details here so you can see, does it work or does it not work? Because it doesn't always work on paper when we traditionally used to architecturally draw stuff.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
2D doesn't account for that third dimension, right?
That's right.
And then we work in that third dimension.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is a fantastic fantastic example of how we can really properly plan for that.
So one of the other things, it was a question I had is, all right, so we're looking at this and we're going to put on exterior features, whether we're going to put a porch roof on or we're going to put a deck on. And we talked about screwing through that. Now, doesn't those screws cause an air leak in the vapor barrier?
They absolutely can. So anytime you're penetrating that exterior membrane, whether, you know, no matter what it is, that's an opportunity for air and moisture to infiltrate.
Right.
So, you know, ideally using some type of self-sealing membrane. We have one fully adhered, there's glue on the back of it, I'll grab that. And if it's a pretty robust screw, maybe adding some sealant before you add the screw, extra piece of tape or something like that, just to really gum up around the threads and hold that seal, that water and air seal intact. You know, if we're doing joist hangers, that's fine, that's nails, that's easy.
Right.
Yeah, but you start getting the lag bolts and stuff like that, it gets a little bit more tricky.
So you want to do a little extra just to make sure it is protected.
Yeah, you do a little extra, and then just in the long term, you end up with a much more durable product.
Sure. So all of this is, you know, we're focused on vapor barrier, we're focused on air quality.
Yep.
what are some of the concerns? If you're not doing this the proper way, if you are not putting these techniques to practice, what are some of the things? I know you showed on some of the slides, but what are the health issues that come out of this?
Right, so if you think about how much air transport moisture, so the hotter the air gets, the more moisture it gets. I mean, think of Florida on a hot summer day, you know, you go outside, you just feel like you're swimming. So the hotter the air gets, the more moisture it transports.
Yeah.
And then if we get too much moisture buildup in a wall assembly or roof assembly, that's when we start seeing molds, mildews, rots,
Right.
all those things that actually start to increase our
Health issues.
health issues.
Yeah, right.
Right. So we want to try and mitigate those by creating a very air-sealed building envelope that'll give us the opportunity to mitigate any of the mold and moisture buildup.
Right.
We're going to ventilate. So that's the thing, build it tight,
Ventilate it, right? So we're gonna wrap it so tight,
Right.
we gotta add air.
Right, we want to bring in fresh air. That fresh air is going to come through a filter system. So it's all going to be fresh filtered air. It's getting rid of the dry,
Right.
stale air. And we're not breathing through the skin, right? You know, like I was talking about earlier. Human beings, we breathe through our mouth and nose, one dedicated entry and exit area. We've got our mechanical system, that's our lungs. And if we started breathing through our skin, that'd be a big problem. We would have big health issues, right? So we want to think of the building the same way. You know, we got a ventilation system, dedicated mechanical system that takes in fresh air, exhales stale air, so that our indoor environment is healthy, it's comfortable.
Sure. Love it. All right, so listen, everybody, if you're just joining us, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook right now. We are at SIGA's National Training Center in New Hampshire. Listen, Ken, we're gonna get into the practical stuff now and talk about some of these things, because my favorite part of this whole thing was watching what you had to say, but actually putting these things into practice. Let me put my kind of BS hat on, if I should say, my building science hat, and really understand it, because I'm a very practical person, right? If I read a book on this, it'd never get done.
Right.
But you actually had us do it. And I think that's what is so important, because you can think you know how to do it, but until you start trying to do it, there's a skill to it.
Sure, absolutely. And that's one of the most important parts about all of this is the best way to learn is by doing. Learn by doing.
Yeah.
You know, we can sit there and write down and read and all that, but we don't know what we've got until we start doing it.
Right. So why don't we take a look at this mock-up wall you have here?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
everybody out there, please hit like and share if you could. So walk us through, what are we looking at here? Maybe we can turn it a little bit to give them an angle.
Right. So this is kind of what we would consider maybe like a really good wall assembly, right? So we've got a 2x6 stud. We could go bigger than that, but for our mock-up purposes, it's pretty good because I'd like to carry it with me if we're going places. So we've got a 2x6 stud here. We've got a nice fully adhered weather barrier, air barrier on top of that.
Right.
We've got our window opening sealed, prepared for the window to go in. We've got our exterior insulation. So we've actually got 2 layers of R6 comfort board, Rockwool comfort board, and then a really important part of that are these furring strips.
Right. Let's talk about this, because you don't see this in New England very often.
No, I'm starting to see it more, but I see a lot. There's a lot of things in New England where they're just slapping the cladding right on top of the sheathing, right over this, and that can present its own set of problems, right?
Sure.
So we're designing these buildings with permeability, so these vapor can diffuse through this. So we're thinking not bulk water, but water vapor.
So water on the inside, in other words, you're talking the back side of this, if water was behind this, it can permeate out and let the house breathe.
Right.
So it's not letting it in.
Right. So we're saying, like, look, we've got if you go outside in a cold day, you can see how much water vapor just is exhaling.
Yeah.
So that building is trying to do the same thing. There's some vapor buildup inside. We're showering, we're cooking. There's water evaporation. Us breathing is creating a lot of vapor buildup. So we're trying to allow that vapor to work its way through the assembly out here.
Sure.
So if we don't allow this kind of furring cavity, that furring cavity, 3/8. 3/8 is like the magic number. Ask Dr. Joe, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Joe Stebrook. 3/8 is the magic number. It gets a lot of air movement in there, allows, if there is any dampness in this assembly, to continually dry out. Because if there's some dampness in here, that's not the end of the world. If it can dry,
Sure.
it needs to dry.
Yeah.
And that 3/8 kind of cavity really allows that drying process.
To happen, absolutely. So we basically, so I'm understanding, if we don't have this cavity and we put our vinyl against there, or we put our fiber cement board, whatever the cladding is going to be,
Right.
we're actually causing pressure points where it's touching the wall and the air can't circulate through and help dry, because there is always going to be some moisture to contend with.
Right.
It's a matter of getting it out of the house and away from
Right.
the house.
Yeah, exactly. You
Right.
always want the moisture to come out.
Right.
You don't want to allow any opportunity for it to sit there. You know, if you've got fiber cement siding, you know, we see it all the time. We have to repaint it and repaint it and repaint it because the moisture constantly building up within that fiber cement siding. So being able to have that airflow and drying capacity is a big deal. And that's important too. That's why our tapes are semi-permeable.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want even at these points where it's taped, we don't want that to be completely vapor closed. We want to allow everything to dry out properly.
Right. And you guys, so there's different products that's going into this whole thing, you know, with the house wrap and the tapes that we're using for the windows, and the tapes that we're using on the inside, and the wrap that we're using, the air barrier on the inside that we're also using.
Yeah.
I think it's really important that we kind of walk through the steps of what these materials are.
Right.
And I think we'll just stay right here. And what we can do is the blue wrap here. Let's talk about this.
Right. So we manufacture a couple of different exterior wraps. This is our fully adhered air and weather barrier. So basically, think of it as a giant 5-foot tall, 100-foot long roll of tape. So it's nice and thick. It's vapor permeable. We're about 16 perms. So we allow the building to dry out. The adhesive is pressure sensitive, so we roll it on after we've got it applied to the building. And then it's also solvent-free adhesive. Right. Solid acrylic, water-based, solvent-free adhesive, so that means it's not going to off-gas, become dry and brittle over time. We have 6-month UV stability on this, so it can be on the building for 6 months, which is it's actually a big deal because you know, there's delays.
COVID,
you know,
right? Look at it, right? There's one for you right there.
We have a project in Cambridge right now that had to be paused for 3 months, and their first question was, "Am I okay? Do I need to redo it?"
Right.
You know, 3 months is half the exposure time, so we were good on that.
And listen, if you guys are joining us, we're actually going to pan to the. We did a whole side of a wall with window openings. I don't want to hear anybody tell me how poorly my side is. All right, but we had a lot of fun doing it. But to really roll this out, you know, a one person could do it, but it's really a 2-person job.
Yep.
You know, to really make it go fast, and it was so easy. You know, myself and some other people in the class, we've never done this before.
Right.
You kind of just gave us the guidelines and off to the crooked races we went, but we had fun doing it.
Yeah, and I'd say you guys did a really great job. I mean, we design a lot of ease of installation into this product. If you look at the material, and we can show it a little bit better on the big one, but we've got measuring and cutting guides all over the product, overlap guides, all to ensure ease of installation. Because the easier we can make it, the more likely it is to get done well.
That's right.
And the more likely everyone is to meet their goals.
Sure. So why don't we talk about it? All right. So we have the barrier on here, and we're going to talk about the blue because we can show that a little bit better on that side. Let's talk. After we did this, we started working on the windows.
Yep.
And doing all around the windows with our corners and the bottom flashing, side flashing, top flashing.
Right.
You had a product for each one of these, and it wasn't that it's really a different product. It's just done a different way to make it easier for you to install. So if you have the right products, they're made for that particular application. I think that is super, super powerful because you're not trying to take just one 4-inch tape and make it work for all the corners and everything that's out there.
Right.
Let's walk through some of these products and what they are.
So one of the nice things here that we have is we've got a pretty simple product line when it comes to the exterior barrier. So we've got the building wrap, and we've got 2 tapes. And these 2 tapes come in various different sizes and configurations. So we've got like a 4-inch tape. That's what we typically would do the corners with.
Right here.
We've got a 6-inch tape. We can do the jambs and sills with it. But this tape actually comes all the way up to 12-inch wide. So depending on how your build is, we have a size to accommodate that. And then we've also got, anytime we're going to meet a masonry surface, we have this tape called Fentrim, which is primerless on almost all surfaces, including masonry, CMU, anything that's porous and cementitious.
So great about this is we went all the way down to the plate of the house.
Yep.
Right, with the glue wrap. And then we also have this that goes all the way and adheres to the concrete.
Right.
Which is typically a porous, because it's not perfectly flat.
Right.
And this adheres right to it and seals it.
And it sticks super well.
Keeps the bugs out, everything.
Everything. Keeps the bugs out, keeps the water out, keeps the air in.
Right.
Or out.
Yeah,
Depending on where it is. And that's super important because there's a lot of tricky details in getting that wall system to connect to the foundation system.
Yeah.
I've seen some crazy details that are very hard to do. Bringing the poly out or up, over, up, and kind of weaving it from the inside of the building to the outside of the building to really create this capsule. Whereas with this, we just come down, peel it, stick it, and move on with our lives.
And that's exactly how easy it was.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that's really powerful, and we'll show it over there, is that all of your products have self-measuring guides on.
Yeah.
You don't have to sit there and measure all this out. You just have to, even on the wrap, you just measure the length of the wall, and you have markings on that wrap that tells you exactly how far you have to go without pulling your tape measure out and trying to.
Absolutely. These long dash lines are every foot. So if you need 20 feet, you count 20 dash lines and cut.
I love it. I love it.
It's all about making it easy.
Yeah. So what are we going to show next here?
So one of the things that I want to show next is that we've got this Fentrum tape here, and this comes in a couple of different formats. But this has a pre-fold on it. So this pre-fold is really, really cool as far as being able to tape up windows. So when we flash in windows, we want to make sure that we're not sticking the tape where the trim isn't going to hide it, because this tape doesn't come off.
Right.
Once you put it on, it does not want to come back off. So it's really important. Also, if we're installing inset windows where we need to make a 90-degree corner, this has already got a pre-bent 90-degree corner.
Yeah.
So it makes getting those 90-degree corners nice and crisp, so we don't have tenting or anything like that.
Which, so everybody understands, this is already pre-made. You can see, I don't know if you can see that, but basically you can take this, run it on the window, get it where exactly you want it, pull this off, and then it folds down perfectly to make that seal.
Right.
This is what I was talking about on how powerful your products are, because it's just not another 3-inch piece of tape.
Right.
It actually has a system built in, so you can attach this to the window exactly where you want it, peel the main portion of the tape off, so where the adhesive is, and just fold it down. You're on your way, and it's airtight. Right.
And then this leg right here, this pre-folded leg is always going to be the same measurement. It's about 5/8 of an inch, but we can get that tape wider on this leg. So if you need to cover bigger areas or you have other things going on that you need a wider tape, that we can do that. And this is really great with windows that have like a non-integral flange. So that's one of the things that with a nailing thin window. There are certain companies that make windows or flanges that snap into a channel.
Sure.
And typically you would need to roll a flat tape up onto the side of the window face and cover that.
Right.
This makes that super easy. You tape that side to the window face, pull off the back, and stick it over the flange. You don't have any tenting. You don't have any worries of that.
And this stuff moves with the house, moves with the windows. It's not going to break down and cause air gaps, and we'll show you that when we get over there.
Right. Yeah. If you think about how adhesives are, if you think about duct tape, for example, duct tape, the solvent-based adhesive, after some years, it becomes dry and brittle. If something moves around, it cracks and kind of turns to dust. Solvent-based adhesives will always do that. As they're off-gassing, their adhesive properties are changing, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how long. So the lower the solvent content, the longer that process takes. But we don't have a solvent-based adhesive. It's a water-based adhesive. So there's no off-gassing, there's no harmful chemicals, there's no drying, there's no embrittling. So as long as the building stands, this tape is going to remain stuck and flexible.
Which is great, which is absolutely great. All right, what else do we have here that you want to show?
So one of the things that we do have here is, so this is a version of Wig Glove that is black, which is really important because one of the new things that we're seeing a lot of is open joint cladding. So this is permanently UV stable behind open joint cladding. So if we have a gap in the cladding where sunlight can constantly get back to the building, this is going to protect it. So this is going to protect any UV damage, because here's the thing with UV damage. It doesn't stop once it starts. So, we use the analogy in the training class that, like, think of going out in the sun and forgetting to put sunblock on. You start to notice that your skin's a little pink and you're starting to maybe get a little sunburn, so you hurry up and put the sunblock on.
Right.
But 2, 3, 4 days later, you're still peeling because you still got that burn and the damage kept happening. So that's the same thing with building wraps and tapes and stuff like that. If you go past the recommended UV stability rating, that damage continues to happen even after we've covered the building with cladding.
So, all right, so in layman's term, what you're saying is the sun and UV causes the same problems to a house wrap or products on a house as it does, like same concept as burning somebody.
Right.
So if your rating was 6 months on this and you're over 6 months, you might as well replace it, right? I mean,
right.
Just like on any cladding. And so we have all these projects that are sitting because of COVID and so many states were shut down. You know, they should really, whoever is owning that product or project should know when the timeline is on that, because it will cause you problems in the future.
Right, absolutely. And that's, you know, that's one of the things we want to try and avoid is future problems. So the more we can be aware of that, you know, if there are certain products out there, maybe 3 months, 2 months, 6 months, 5 months. So really pay attention to what your fully exposed UV exposure is.
Right.
And that's, you know, no cladding or anything like that on. That makes a big difference in the longevity of your building.
Yeah. I love it. Absolutely love it. All right. So not only with the tapes, you guys have an entire product line that comes with it.
Right. All the tools, all the tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
So this is a great tool for installing the fully adhered membrane without wrinkles, feathering it out. We roll it afterwards. We've got rollers for the tapes, one for flat, one for the corners. This is great for getting nice and tight corners. We've got these squeegees. That, I mean, when you get a squeegee in here and get nice and tight into this corner,
that's right.
I mean, there's no tenting. You don't have to worry about any damage to the corners there. And of course, we're Swiss, so we don't go anywhere without Ricola.
Ricola. All right, perfect. Great. How we doing, Jen, on time? We doing good? We having fun? Let's walk over to what we did in our training class today, and we can show a lot bigger picture of everything that happened. So
absolutely.
Come on over this way, and let's see what we have. All right, Jen, tell us when you're ready.
So,
perfect. So, well, you know what? Jump into it here, because we started with this. Let's walk through the Majest.
The MyVest.
The MyVest.
It's my vest, not yours. So this is our MyVest 700 SA or 500 SA. We've got some indicators here, pressing, because it is a pressure sensitive adhesive. So we want to remind people to roll it, put pressure on the membrane. I didn't ask you guys to do that here because I do want to reuse these mock-ups. I don't want to stay stuck. So this is a really great membrane for airtightness. It makes airtight assemblies super easy because you don't have to worry as much about the details. Getting every little seam and everything taped up and every penetration. So self-sealing. It's cold weather friendly. That's super important in New England. They like to try and build all year round.
So I'm going to stop you right there just so I can show that I was paying attention. So the exterior cladding guys are not going to want to hear this in New England, but you can install this without any issues down to 14 degrees.
Yeah.
14 degrees. Who's working in 14-degree weather? They are now.
That's a conservative number too.
Yeah.
So 14 degrees. Yeah, absolutely. We can be doing this and without primer. Yeah. Without primer, so we don't need to prime this. We don't need to to treat this membrane like a baby and coddle it. Keep it nice and warm in the truck or something like this. This can be outside. This can be cold. The substrate can be cold. The air can be cold. It can be applied, and it sticks just as well in cold temperatures as it does when it's summertime. Right.
So to walk through this, the first thing we did, we're always working from the bottom up, right? So we started off with the MyVest, right? A lower portion. We rolled it out, but the great thing was we just measured end to end. I think it was like 13 feet 2 inches. Right. Each one of you don't even have to count. It's 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot. You just roll it out and count the lines, and then 4 inches.
Right. Then 4 inches. So if you need 2, you cut right in the middle.
I was paying attention.
Right. So. You got 4 inches, and oh, by the way, our overlaps are 4 inches. So it just so happens to be, maybe someone thought of this, but we have 4 inch. Every square is 4 inches in every direction. So no matter if we've got a horizontal overlap, a vertical overlap, no matter where the overlap is, we know where we need to be applying it. So it's applied straight, and we can cut straight,
Yep.
And both of those things will reduce
That,
waste.
that's a big deal, right? Because, you know, cutting, you're freehanding, this isn't a machine cutting.
Right.
So cutting this and staying somewhere squiggly between the lines really makes a big difference.
Right. You know, if you didn't have these guides, you were to start here and end up down here.
Right.
Well, now you got to move this over, so you're starting to waste material.
Right, they're trying to overlap and fix mistakes.
Right.
The guys are, because they don't want to go back down the ladder, right? This
Right.
is starting to eliminate future problems with, you know, somebody installing this, because you're simplifying the entire process for them, so they can actually do that.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things. You know, it's either they're going to just try and patch it up, and maybe they only have a half-inch overlap here and a 6-inch overlap here, or you know, they have to go back and redo it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure. All right, so we put on the My Vest, we did this layer, and then we had a small piece here we did, you know, that would flip over the top. We won't get into that today. Then what was our next step?
So our next step here is we got down here to the base of the wall, and this is where this base connection is super simple. So we've got the base of the wall, we've got the fentrum here, 2 inches up.
This is on the concrete, so everybody knows. This is concrete, this is the wood of the house.
Yep.
So this material can seal this, the My Vest, to the actual concrete.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's great.
And that is too. This is actual cement board. You know,
Right.
we're not cheaping out here. We got actual cement board over here.
Yeah. All right. So
to show the strength there.
Yep. And this all adheres to each other. So it's a watertight. We took our tools, we rolled it out.
Yep.
That presses it together,
Yep.
and it is watertight.
And that is the important part of that is the pressure.
Yeah. For
Rolling
sure.
it out and pressurizing it. So super important.
Right.
So once we got that down, we did the window pre-flashing, and here's something that's really interesting, and I want to touch on this, is why I kind of let you do the black tape over here.
Yeah.
So SIGA really, we pride ourselves on actually listening to and interacting with our customers.
Okay.
So Fentrim used to be black, right?
Yep.
And we got a lot of feedback that, especially on the base joint, that the black stuck out like a sore thumb if they happened to miss it. So it would be nice if it was more concrete color, you know, kind of blend in a little bit.
Right.
So we took that advice and we made these changes. So now you can see over here we've got the gray here, the gray here.
Yeah.
So that really helps, because this tape can also be used to tape in window openings and masonry connections.
Got it. Okay.
Because of that adhesion to masonry. So that's something that's really cool about the company, is that we actually take our customer feedback very seriously.
Yeah. Well, I even talked to you earlier. I mean, you said it's like a family. I kind of just throwing things at you. You're like, no, I actually really love it. They listen to what's happening. They listen to, you know, you guys.
Yep.
I mean, you're coming up with creative ideas you were telling us about as well, which I think is phenomenal for a company to be that way and to care about their employees and to care about the product, because everything you've said today has been we.
Yeah.
I've never heard you say SIGA. I never heard you talked as if you owned it. And I think that's a really big sign for any company that does that, right? Culture is everything.
Absolutely. And everything we do together.
Yeah.
And that's huge. You know, these actually, you know what? This is another one of those types of details that is just through the thought process of
how it all comes together.
Listening to customers and really working out details. You know, a piece of tape on the top, piece of tape on the bottom, squish it together. Right. Your wire sealed. No trying to fiddle with a piece of tape here.
Right. Well, let's kind of walk through some of this, and I'm going to talk about that. That's the McDonald's sandwich right there. So we have our tape here, right? This is the tape that has the fold over. But when you move this, look at this, and this is thick. Yeah. This is thick. This is airtight.
Yep.
This is going to move with the expansion and contraction of the homes, because homes do expand and contract, contrary to what anybody thinks. And when that expands and contracts, what we've learned today is you can spray foam that all you want, but that foam hardens. And when that house expands and contracts, there goes your openings for your air to come in. Yep. It works in the beginning.
Right, it works in the beginning.
But that's the end of it.
And it's a great insulator, right? You get a great R value, and this is a very small space, so it's really hard to get a good R value in the space. And the other thing we need to think about is these are two different materials. Like, we've got a UPVC window here. Right. We've got a wood opening. Vinyl and wood expand and contract at dramatically different rates. Yeah. So we've got not just expansion and contraction here, but we've got a different rate of expansion and contraction at the window opening, which actually causes differential movement.
Great point. You're right. Yeah.
So the differential movement is one of those things that most materials have a hard time dealing with. You know, backer rods and caulks. You know, it's just hard to deal with that with small adhesion areas.
Sure. And the prep went into this, so everybody knows there's roughly 4 layers in every corner.
Yeah.
4 layers of protection, and this tape is not thin. Let me grab a piece of this. I want everybody to see this. I'm gonna hate myself because it's gonna stick to me, right?
Yeah, we've got the corner layer, so we treat the corner separate from everything else. So we go in the corner with our 4-inch piece of tape. So we've got the corner done, and then we do the sill here, and this sill a leg wraps up, right? So we wrap up a couple inches here, and then we come down and do this, and that's wrapped over. This actually is wrapped into the sill. So we've got a layer of this. We've got the corner layer, so that's 2 layers now.
2 layers.
Then we've got the sill layer, that's 3. And then we've got the jam layer, that's 4 layers.
Right.
And there's no build.
There is no build-up. I mean, this is very, like, you wouldn't know it.
Right. So this, it's almost as flat as it started out with. The tape is strong, but it's thin.
I don't know if everybody can see that, but it is very thin, right? Maybe I can walk up and show this on camera, or maybe I'm pushing my luck here with it, right? So it is thin, but here's the other thing. It has some flex to it, a little bit of flex, but it is solid. You're not poking holes through this real easy. And the fact that there is 4 layers of that on the corners, is just testament to what this is.
Yeah, it's super robust, and and having those extra layers actually kind of allows a lot of movement around, right? So that's one of the things that you and I talked about with that movement. Is really important that we have these tapes are acting as like expansion control. So because they remain flexible, the building can move around with it, and we're not putting tension on any of the adhesives that way.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we have our tape on. Wig glove. Somebody's going to explain to me what that means. All right.
It's from SIGA. We love.
We love, and my jacket. Don't take my jacket. We love you.
Yep.
All right. So, and we also have this here. Come back over in the shot a little bit. So this here is what's actually sealing the gap between the window and the framing, which is also protected by the wig glove tape.
Right.
This material here, it's almost like a felty material.
Oh yeah.
And again, it's a thick material. I don't know if we can show that on camera and see, but let me just show. It's a very thick material. See this lap over? And then it has tape on this side. This is what's really cool. Let me just show it.
Yeah.
Let's
do it.
Let's do it. Where's the knife? Give me a knife. I got to show you this. This is what's so great about the products, because they've come up with a solution to simplify installation. It's going to move quicker. You're going to have airtight barriers. You're going to have less headaches from consumers or customers that are using your product as a builder.
Yep.
And you're going to limit the amount of, I guess, mistakes that somebody can make, because it's pretty self-explanatory. Watch, Oshi's going to get me now because I'm not doing this right? So why don't you just show how that piece goes on? I won't waste your tape.
Right. So what we're going to do is basically, when we have the face of the window, so if this is the edge of the window right here, you can kind of see that, is we want to get this edge of the tape right to this edge of the window.
Oh, wow.
And we want to make sure that it folds this way. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to unfold it and stick it down.
Just like that.
Just like that. And our window's sealed. And this eliminates all the question marks of, if this was a flat tape, how far in does it go? If this is 5/8, most trim is going to hide this. We can pad out the trim and keep it in a nice straight line and make sure that this is hidden in view. Clean
and neat, right? That's what it really comes down to in a lot of projects. Keeping it very clean, keeping it very neat.
Right.
Aesthetics mean a lot to a consumer.
Absolutely.
Aesthetics mean a lot to a consumer. So I love it. All right, so we have this. We got our window in. We are flash. We're watertight. We have our penetrations, right?
Yep.
I'm going to call it the McSandwich here, right? So we have our wig glove tape, and what we've basically done here is you've taken one piece of tape here, a 4-inch piece, right? Because remember, all the backs of these have a split 2 inches apart, right? So you don't have to pull off the whole tape.
It's split right in the middle. So depending on what size the tape is, it's split right down the middle. You can always make it nice.
Put a piece here, leave the top on so it doesn't stick.
Yep.
You put another piece across the top here. And then all you did was pull the bottom, stuck it to the bottom of the wire, and then undid the top. And now you got a sandwich. And this is paper thin, so no matter where that wire goes when they're putting it in, this is not causing you any issues.
No, not at all. So they can put this. There's all kinds of stuff that can go on here, and this wire stays sealed.
Yeah.
So even if the electrician's like, you need to move this over here because I misplaced the hole, and now I get the junction box. So this can move wherever
you want it to. All right, and then if we come over here, we have our pipe now. Same concept that we do with the house wrap. We start from the bottom. So you were taking roughly 3-4 inch pieces of tape.
Yep.
You put it on the bottom, you wrap it up underneath. You work your way up this side with another 4, and knock up this side, always layering. So when the water comes down the house, it runs down both sides of these, never into it. Exactly. And that's all you do. And the other thing, I mean, this pipe's just in here for demonstration. It's not tied to anything on the back.
No, not at all.
I'm knocking over the other
I don't
house
think
wrap.
I even put it in there that well.
No, but it also acts as another secure, penetration point, to help secure the pipe coming through the wall. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of benefits to this. I mean, this pipe, that's, I just pulled this out of the opening.
Well, you're not a plumber, so you're not a plumber. You're not a plumber.
I'm a tape guy.
Right. So some people also might be seeing this too. This is the other color here.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is our current color.
This is the current color.
Right.
But not to be confused. It's the same exact product.
Tape.
It's just you were listening to the customer.
We listen to the customer.
Right. And again, same properties. You can shake the daylights out of this window. 50 years from now, still no air getting through there, right?
Still no air getting through there. And the other thing is, again, I want to reiterate that this tape is semi-permeable, so we're not trapping moisture in the sheeting behind the flashing.
Yeah.
Because with an impermeable tape, the same thing happens. It does just as good a job of keeping the water in the sheeting as it does keeping the exterior water out.
Yeah.
So any of that, it's always got drawing potential.
Sure. I love it. So do we have any shout outs there today, Jennifer? Is there a ton of shout outs? We love shout outs. Let's take a look. Etienne, you're going to be joining us soon. So you just hang in there, my friend. So we got Sean McStay. Come on up here with me.
All right,
this is where we come in a little closer. We'll bend down.
I don't want to break the camera.
Yeah, don't break the camera. All right. I'm not sure who this is. Good morning from San Francisco. I love it. We have that was Katera. I love it. Thanks for joining us today, Katera. We have Anthony Goudet in. Good to see you, Anthony. Great job at breaking this down. I love it. We're having so much fun. Why do we need to pay attention to UV, Kenneth Kiefer? That's from Jennifer.
Yeah. UV. Without paying attention to UV, that's just one of those things where UV is the destroyer of everything.
UV is the destroyer of everything, along with water.
Yeah.
Along with water. All right, we have George Ryman joining us today as well. What's up, George? What if we want to use Surefoot foundations to eliminate building concrete? So do you know what Surefoot foundations are?
No.
Basically, it's think of a house on piers, but these are rod. It's a rod system that goes into the ground, let's say on 45-degree angles, right? Like this and like this, and it uses the pressure of those rods pushing into the ground. And now you don't need a foundation under it at all. It can actually hold an entire building.
Beautiful.
And it's really cool. So that's a good question, George. I mean, there's not a whole lot of that happening yet. So
but
we'll look at it.
That would be a pretty easy detail. Right off the top of my head, just come underneath and tie in the top to the bottom, whatever's going under there, and then just like we did with the pipes, we're going to tape around those rods or the pipes or the structure that's holding it together.
Love it. All right, so let's work our way over. We got some more. Who are the trade partners who typically handle the install?
So this is one of those parts where it's actually interesting. So we've got there's a whole plethora of people that actually can do this. So sometimes the framers do it. They're putting up the sheething. They might as well put up the air barrier. Sometimes the sidewallers, so they're doing like the siding install crew. Sometimes they'll do it. Sometimes the window installers do it. Sometimes we'll have multiple trades doing it. So we'll have the sidewallers and the window installers doing different parts and pieces of this. So that's one of those things where it's a great question because it's really important to get good communication between any of the trades that might be accomplishing this.
Sure. All right, so we had another question. Where actually do you start with the application? Do you start on the computer or do you start on the job site? I know we already talked about this a little bit, but where does somebody start in this process to make sure you're doing this right?
So we do want to start on the drawing set. We want to plan as many of the details as possible on the drawing set. If we're just going and just kind of winging it on the job site, there's a lot of opportunity for error there.
Sure.
So thinking about redlining the drawing. Where is the air barrier going to go? Where do we need to connect the inside to the outside? And how do we connect the inside to the outside? And that's kind of where those 2D drawings and 3D isometric drawings really come into planning. And then once we get to the building, we just start from the bottom, work our way to the top. That's really important. Shingling everything, water, works its way to the outside.
Sure, sure.
Always diverting water away.
Yep, get in and out.
Right, get it out.
Even on the interior, right? And I don't, do we have the interior side of that over there?
Yep.
I think we do. I bet what we could probably do, Jen, let's spin this around. We're going to turn this around to show the interior, everybody. So hopefully we won't make you sick. That way we don't have to try and lug you all the way through. Right?
All right.
So same thing. So, all right, Jennifer, let's take a look at this here.
So, yeah, this is really important here as far as vapor control layer goes, right? So once we do all this great work on the exterior of the building, we really want to still protect that.
Right.
And like I mentioned before, we have a lot of vapor buildup on the interior of the building.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to manage that appropriately. We don't want moisture building up and sitting inside this wall. So that's why typically you would see, in days past, a 6 mil poly or something like that. Because that does a good job of blocking vapor.
Yeah.
But here's the problem: is if we don't properly seal that, or we don't properly account for any accidental penetrations in that. So if we have, like in New England, for example.
You're saying we're not perfect.
Right. I'm saying we're not perfect. I'm saying we're all human beings, and as much as we'd like to think we are, we're not.
Yeah, right.
So if we think about, we've got a 1-inch square hole, right? Over a heating season in New England, we got their interior at 70 degrees.
Right.
40% relative humidity. If we have a 1-inch hole, 30 quarts of moisture can get through that 1-inch hole in a heating season, in a climate like New England.
30 quarts.
30 quarts. That's a ton of moisture, and that's one hole.
Right, right.
So if you think back to some of maybe the pictures you might see on the internet of mold around the insulation, a lot of that mold buildup is at all the connection points where they didn't maybe tape the vapor barrier, or they didn't seal around the junction boxes and all that stuff. So that's a very important part of that is making sure everything's sealed. So we've got the seal here, we've got the seal connection here. The other important part of that is the boxes, the junction boxes, we're sealing around all of those. But also, how do we manage this? So we manage this in this direction only gets up to about 1 perm. So from the inside of the building going out, stays a vapor barrier. But from the outside of the building coming in, we don't want to trap any moisture in that wall.
Right, right.
So we want it to be able to move through on those 95-degree summer days where we're trying to keep cool inside and vapor moves this way. So we're allowing that vapor to come back inside where our mechanical systems can handle
removing
all
it,
of that.
dehumidifying it, filtering it, all the things that happen.
So this in this direction gets up to about 4 perms in this direction.
Okay.
So it's kind of a check valve for vapor, if you will.
Yeah, so nothing really can get stuck inside. Even though we airtight seal, right?
Right.
The whole thing, you've actually thought it through to where anything stuck inside can permeate out.
Right.
So you have some airflow in there, so it breathes, no mold, no health issues, all the benefits of
And that's the thing, convection carries a lot of air. Air carries a lot of moisture. Air carries a lot of moisture. So air movement, reducing the air movement, step 1. But then things, whether they're air sealed or not, things still want to diffuse. So we want to take that vapor diffusion and get rid of that and control that as best we can.
Absolutely.
And the other point is here we see we've got some strapping on our drywall. This actually creates a cavity here that'll help protect this. You can run wires and stuff in this cavity. The cavity can get bigger if we want to go ahead and manage the plumbing and everything else outside of that.
Sure. All right, so let's talk about some of the trade partners that we have. Like even that mock-up over there was built by
Benson Wood.
Benson Wood, right? Offsite construction.
Offsite construction. That is something that we really are big proponents of at SIGA. Benson Wood has been one of our longest customers in the U.S. They're great partners. They do a phenomenal job with their wall systems. Their wall systems are crazy.
It was straight, I can tell you that.
Right.
I just did it.
Everything in there.
That one was straight.
That's a 90-degree corner.
Yeah.
If it's a 90-degree corner, it's straight, it's true, it's cut well. So those types of partners are people that we're really invested in making sure this happens, because that's quality control.
Well, so just so everybody understands, SIGA has been in the offsite construction world for a long time, longer than in America most companies have been involved. And I don't know the exact time frame, but you guys are huge in Europe, and Europe is kicking our butts in offsite.
Oh, yeah.
And they've embraced your system because they take building science a lot more serious than we have.
Yep.
But it's starting to come around now where people are starting to pay attention to this stuff. So being in offsite isn't new for you, and that's what's so exciting for me.
Yeah.
Because we need more people like SIGA in this industry that really care about how they're doing things, how they're putting things together,
Right.
and giving free training. Honestly, like this was great.
Yeah, that's the key to it. You know, this facility is free to attend a training session. You know, we're not going to charge anyone to learn. We really want to really promote that learning environment, really promote a better understanding of learning. You know, we also offer this facility to partners. We have a partner program where, you know, you as a manufacturer, or consultant, or whoever it is, can come in and use this facility for free.
Yeah.
To educate your own clientele and use the mock-ups and use the materials. And we really support that learning environment. We really are looking at this as a real opportunity to promote learning in better construction practices.
Sure.
And, you know, offsite is one of those huge things that really starting to come online in the US. You know, in Europe, we've done the three largest offsite modular timber buildings in the world. You know, 24 stories in Austria. I think 22 in Oslo.
But you're doing CLT, you're doing mass timber, you're doing modular, volumetric, panelized.
Everything offsite we're doing. You know, we're involved in some way or another in weather and air protecting these types of modules and panels.
Sure. You know, and the product is a superior product. I mean, I'm just touching it and feeling it. I know most of our modular manufacturers that we've been using, and I've been doing modular for 20 years plus now, never ever looks like this. And now that I understand the true science behind it, not just because Mark Willie out there tells me about it all the time, but because I've applied it and I'm putting it to good practical use, it really makes a whole lot of sense in your demonstration and what you teach. If you're out there and you're not sending, you know, your staff or your trades to a free seminar like this, I think it's costing you a ton of money on the job site. It's costing you a ton of money at the factory.
Absolutely. And that's one of those huge things is, you know, we can help educate problems out of existence. Right?
Yeah.
So the more we know, the more we understand about how systems interact and how they work together, the better this is all going to be.
Oh, that's absolutely right. And know what that means to a builder or a developer? That means money in their pocket.
Right.
That's what it really comes down to. This is going to save them more money.
Exactly.
Right? Because it's done right. I mean, you know, 10 years down the road, UV damage because your project sat so long and you didn't fix it or change it. The things that somebody learns is amazing.
You won't have to call in a consultant to figure out what went wrong and then call in a restoration company to go through and tear apart your building 10 years down the road.
I love it. So I think, what's that? So I was gonna get to Etienne. So why don't we let's wrap up. Let's walk over here, Jen. Spin that around. We like to make everybody sick, and we're gonna come over here because this is where I think we'll stand right in front of here, Jen, because then I can see Etienne and we can really get into some of this stuff. Come right over here.
All right.
Watch this. It's gonna be magical, and we're gonna look at the camera when we talk. Hey, is that Etienne?
Yes, that is. I hope you guys can hear me well.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. So, Etienne, I've been here, you know, at the training facility with your team, you know, and they have nothing but nice things to say about you. I'm not sure why. I guess
I get paid. Maybe that's it. But
I gotta protect my picture. Well, listen. So, Etienne, I mean, we're here. One of the things that I really want to see is how awesome your products are. And I say awesome because after coming through the training center, I really feel that way. And offsite construction, modular construction in particular, you know, a lot of the manufacturers, you know, are looking to get their foot in the door to bring solutions in. And I have not seen anybody with a solution like yours. And I think that as offsite grows, and you guys bring all those years and years and years of knowledge and experience from overseas into our market, I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. This was by far one of the best training sessions I've gone through, and I'm not worried about my paycheck.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much for the amazing feedback. And I mean, it's Ken is running it. He's our training director. Thank you, Ken, for putting that all together. for us extremely important to provide a platform for tradespeople in New England or theoretically in the US who can make it to the center to attend and get that training. Obviously, as you know, and all the participants who were there today, we don't charge anything for that training. This is our service to the market. Zero, that's right. Yeah, if you end up using SIGA, great. If not, I mean, as long as you learn and you can improve your envelope, I think we all win as a society. We are also actually opening up more centers. One is going to be on the West Coast. I'm not going to. I can't tell you right now where exactly, but it will be out west. So I'm really excited about that.
I'll have to go and review it.
Yes, please do that. And yeah, you're right. I mean, we definitely have been working with a lot of modular prefabricators who make wall panels, sometimes, closed walls or open walls. So there, the CLT as another kind of a product. There's a lot of building types out there and just construction ways and processes. And we are always happy to partner up and talk about envelope and more specifically really identify what's your pain point, from a manufacturing point of view. And I think that's the major benefit. We are a manufacturer. We know what it means to run a certain assembly line and just having the privilege, same as you, Dave, going to these different manufacturers. You learn with every visit and you get better and you can share knowledge. So definitely something that I think we are honored to be a part of. And thank you so much for showcasing today that important aspect of ours.
Well, it is, and one of the things that's really big to us here on Dave Cooper Live is unless we believe in it, we're not putting it on, we're not talking about it. I've had the pleasure of, to interview Etienne. Etienne, you're going to be on Friday.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I will come back Friday. Thank you for that. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So we'll have you on Friday as well to talk about air barriers. But the reality of it is, this really is a solid product. I mean, it is just amazing. It's a system, just like systems built, just like modular manufacturing. You're only as good as the system. You're only as efficient as the system that you put together.
Yep.
Period. And coming along with that is, like I said, it's the trade issue that we're having. You guys have taken something that can be very complicated, especially if you're up on, a scaffolding 3 stories high, and you're trying to put this stuff up. I mean, that wasn't hard at all. And there was a system in place to just line it all up.
Right.
And I think that's a